Hundreds of thousands of fish have just been stocked at Lake Corpus Christi. I'm going to let you know how many were exactly stocked, what types of fish were stocked, and what this means for the lake in the next couple of years. So stay tuned. So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Robert. If this is your first time tuning in. So today we're going to talk about the stocking that just took place at Lake Corpus Christi that was stocked about, give or take, about a month or so. But that's the first stocking for 2026. And it's the first stocking in the past couple of years. We're going to quickly talk about what kind of fish they did stock and what the outlook looks for the lake as these stockings have been taking place, especially with all of this water that has been flowing into the lake itself. Now, real quickly touch on, I guess, previous videos. If you guys watched my previous videos, we went out there and looked at the lake itself. There was a huge fish kill happening at different parts of the lake. I went and checked out two different parts. Same story at both places, fish kill. And the fish kind of varied in size. There were some adults, there were some young ones, there were some juveniles. They kind of varied. And we'll get into the reason why they were dying and how that kind of plays into what's going on right now. There was exact numbers that was put out in a report by Texas Parks and Wildlife with the amount of fish that they stocked, the types, and the sizes. By I mean sizes, I mean either juveniles, fry, fingerlings, things like that. Not exact measurements per se. But this is important because, like I said, for those of you guys who have been tuning into my videos before, you know we had a fish kill. So that fish kill happened because of the DO level, the dissolved oxygen level, dropped so low. Basically, the fish suffocated. It sounds crazy, but yes, the fish suffocated in the water because there wasn't enough oxygen for them to breathe and to function in the water. So in a quick nutshell, that's basically what happened to these fish. Also, when you have really, really hot days like we do here in Texas, heat really pulls a lot of oxygen out of the lake itself, out of the water itself, especially like a pond like mine. It would definitely do it because it's not as deep as like a big lake like Show Canyon or Lake Corpus Christi. So you have a combination of the heat, you have a bunch of vegetation dying off. Both of those in combination is not a good scenario for these fish. So we'll quickly mention what kind of fish we did see out there. We saw golden shiners that were dead. We saw adult carp that were dead. We saw a lot of freshwater drum that were dead. And we saw a handful of bass that were also dead. So that's important to note because the fish that they did eventually stock in the lake were mainly catfish and bass. Not mainly, they were. Those were the two fish species that they did stock into the lake themselves. The number of catfish they put in there was about 240,000, a little better than 240,000 fingerlings. So those are pretty small fish. All of them, I didn't see any reports saying that there was any blue cats that were stocked. All of them that were mentioned in the articles themselves were channel catfish, so no blue catfish. I love personally blue catfish. They're just bigger, better fish in my opinion, but channel catfish are fun too. But either way, 240,000, a little bit more than 240,000 fingerlings were stocked. We'll talk about how that's going to play a role here in a couple years. And then about 100,000 bass were stocked, which is largemouth bass. These were the Lone Star bass strain. So in the past, they usually stocked the Florida largemouth. Both species are largemouth bass. They're just different strains of bass themselves. So to quickly touch on it, the Lone Star is known to get up to about 13, maybe 14 pounds. So a pretty good sized bass overall. And then the channel cat, there wasn't any kind of strain or anything mentioned on the article itself, but channel catfish typically can get up to maybe 40, maybe 50 pounds. The blues will obviously surpass that 50-pound mark, but most of the biggest channel cats you'll see might get up to like 40, 50 pounds. So we actually have a lot of fish breeding back here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the water is getting splashed up. There's a bunch of little babies that are just coming out that were being basically nested by the adults, but they're now finally getting out, especially with these warm waters. Anyways, so the channel catfish, those will likely be, I guess, edible in about 1.5 to maybe 3 years. That's probably the typical range before they get to that size. Again, they're fingerlings, they're pretty small. They might put on a pound maybe in the first year, and then after that they should be between about 2 to 3 pounds here in the next couple years. So I'll give it basically say 2 years, 3 years before we start seeing the effects of the stocking that they just did in 2026 for the channel catfish. Now for the bass can put on really, really fast weights. If you guys have kept up with the channel here, you guys have seen the bass that when we stock them, the size we stocked them at, and then what we've been catching them just a few months later, almost a year later. They've gotten from, what was it, maybe about a pound to about 4 pounds in a span of about a year, give or take a few months. So that's a very quick growth rate. Now, personally, I do stock it with a lot of bait fish in here, so I'm making sure that they have an abundance of food to eat, so they can just sit there and eat. Now in a lake, they're gonna have to burn more calories. It's a bigger body of water. We don't know exactly what the bait fish to predator fish ratio is either, so we don't know exactly what the growth rate is going to be, but we can tell that, hey, they can put on maybe about 3 pounds in a good environment. So in about a year, you should be able to see these fish be catchable. You know, maybe not everyone wants to take those kind of fish home, but they'll at least be catchable. There'll at least be some fun enjoyment in about a year for these bass. Now, they put 240,000 channel catfish and about 100,000 bass. That doesn't mean every single one of them is going to actually make it. Like, as you can tell, here on the right-hand side over here, we have some big predator birds that just chill out on these trees waiting for these fish that just spawned. So, same thing's happening just on a larger scale on these lakes. There's going to be predation, there's going to be birds, there's going to be hawks, there's going to be raccoons, all kinds of stuff. Not to mention other fish that will eat these. So not every single one of them is going to make it, but I mean, that is quite a few fish. You should have quite a bit that also make it as well. But I want to quickly touch on that. Although they did stock a bunch of fish in this lake, you're not really going to see these effects for outdoorsmen, fishermen like myself and like you guys. We probably won't see these effects for maybe another year to 3 years, somewhere in that span, depending on exactly the sizes of fish that they did put in. So again, it's going to be a little bit of time, but it is at least a good start. And I'm glad that they did stock some fish in there, especially with this fish kill that we just had. The previous stocking didn't take place to about 2023. So it's been about 3 years, give or take, since they've really stocked the lake. It's been a minute, but either way, still happy to see it. And I just wanted to keep you guys updated on what's happening with the lake. I haven't seen a bunch of people talking about it. I just saw the article by Texas Parks and Wildlife and thought I'd go ahead and bring it on the channel because, again, I don't think anybody really knows about this. I haven't heard about it till today. So again, just want to bring it on the channel, keep you guys updated what's happening with our local lakes. Hopefully they'll be doing Choke Canyon soon. Maybe they're doing it right now as I speak, but I'll go ahead and keep you guys updated if I see anything on that as well. But without further ado, be careful, be good, take care, and God bless. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.